Hello there, it's Radrose from the internet. There's enough happening in this picture that I thought sharing my thought process during each stage might be valuable, and maybe leave a link to a couple of resources that have either helped me or I think could be helpful. The first of which is the brushes I used for this. Hades uses a very specific brush. It's just a hard round with a little taper. I couldn't find one that fitted my needs, so I made one. The second one is more of personal preference. It's modelled after the brush Marcos Matteo Mestre uses. You could see it specifically in framed ink and across a lot of his drawings. And the first thing I'm going to flag up is if you like this kind of art style and you want to get a good grip of it and you're kind of not sure where to start, framed ink is maybe the best starting point you could ever work from, even if you're not in comics, even if you're not really interested in sequential art. It's certainly part of the same influences that Gen Z would have in making the art for Hades. Lots of very thick black shadows, lots of very considered line art, lots of implication of detail over detail itself. But that's a lot of housekeeping. I haven't started talking about the picture yet. You can see me iterate through a bunch of sketch ideas. This might be bad practice. I would very strongly recommend doing thumbnails before you hop straight in to sketching on the big canvas. Call that do as I say, not as I do, because I did regret that going in. You can see the composition grid flashing up now and again. This is a second pass sketch. For a big picture I will typically do 3, sometimes 4. I have a second canvas that isn't being recorded where I keep my references. I'm not using a reference for the body, hence the fucked up backy the grappler shoulder situation. That gets remedied later, don't worry about it. For now I'm mostly worried about the areas of focus, that is the face and Millennium when I get that sketch finished. So the idea behind this is that it's a riff on the cover for Hades 2, which is you have Millennium front and centre, you have the logo, and way at the back you have Hecate. And her values are as such that she's very much a background element, and she's looming. She isn't the focus, she's the second thing you notice. And I thought, because the nature of the internet being what it is, someone is going to do an underfell of something. That's just how it works, and my god, it might as well be me. So my thinking was the same kind of looming present background figure asserting himself in such a way that is almost inappropriate to the picture. Because Millennium right in the middle, you see where that triangle is the focal point. She's very obscured, you don't see her face. Her shading is very flat, and Kronos' hands come around to pull focus. It's almost like he's crowding her out of her own picture. So that was my thinking going into it, and I think it kind of summarises the whole deal of this idea. That idea being, what if Kronos woke up too early and found Millennium as a baby and thought, I'll do a good job raising this one, and then did not. With the initial sketch done, I'm just getting my values in. Again, this is probably something I should have done in the thumbnail. Consider this a thumbnail for a giant. I'm just kind of getting a lighting map down, taking some notes, making sure everything is as it should be before I start on the more difficult part of the process. The lighting was a fun challenge. Everything in Hades, especially the second game, is lit from either the top left or the top right, because the idea is that everyone's cast in moonlight, so it gives everyone kind of a dark blue hue with a very strong light source. And because this is the fucked up and evil one, I thought it would be fun to do the lighting from underneath and far forward. I think it's a cool idea. Challenging to do, but I chose to do this, so it's too late for me to complain now. Present of my own making, I could have left at any time, but didn't I? This is me using the little fakey Hades style brush I made. Typically, if it was just for my own fun, I'm saying this like this wasn't for my own fun, but you get what I mean. I would use the chisel brush I mentioned earlier. The problem is, if you use it with a symmetry ruler, it's uneven, and this causes problems way further down the line when you start colouring. It's the kind of thing you don't notice as it's happening. Here's me struggling with the hands. I say struggle, I think these came out okay. You can see me hammer away at them, really gnarling up those things. I think these hands came out pretty good. I'm pretty pleased with them. I think people overstate how hard they are to draw, to the point it might put people off. Just try. It's like any other part of the body. You'll get it in time. You can see me break away from the symmetry ruler for a bit for some of the details, like the lines to describe form. These probably have a real name, I'm just going to call them the greebles. Whenever I use a symmetry ruler, I try to go back in with a brush with kind of a varying line thickness and try to add some organic shapes and try to break up the pure symmetry of it. Because even if you are holding the exact same pose on both sides, your body isn't perfectly symmetrical. I don't care how much of a supermodel you are, light is going to hit you in a slightly different way. I think it looks better unless you're going for like a very artificial kind of look, which is fine in itself, but not what I was gunning for. Her body type in this SAU is slightly different. She has a slightly stockier, kind of burlier frame, a little more like Nemesis. You can see me hammer at this pose for a while. It's 100 floors of frights, they're not all going to be winners. I am happy with what I land on in the end. Even looking at this I think is okay. Her right arm is maybe a little short. Yep, there comes the grid. You can tell when I start struggling because the grid will appear like the ghost of Christmas past to try and right my wrongs. Oh hen, what are you doing? I'm going for foreshortening. I give up. Back to that pose. This is a real don't tell anyone how I live kind of moment. Part of the problem for me with this picture is, first and foremost, I consider myself more of a painter. Skeleton! And as a painter, I greatly prefer working on one layer. This kind of art style isn't conducive to doing that. You have to go back, you have to add colour, you have to mess around with layer modes, all that kind of thing. So what I'll find myself doing is I will do line art on a layer, and I'll think, oh, I have to make a big change. I will copy the layer, I will duplicate it, and keep one for safeguarding, just in case I make a big mistake. This is all well and good. By the time this picture was done, I had 150 layers. My computer was chugging. I'm shocked it wasn't spewing black smoke. I also don't know if this is best practice. It seems to be working out for me so far. Oh, there he is. This is me just getting down some of the base colours. It's a little eye strainy, but it helps for me to mark things out more clearly compared to just using their normal base tones. There's the scary flesh orb. If you're having a hard time with the character, I would very strongly recommend making a scary flesh orb and just having it to hand. All people are, as far as lighting goes and colouring goes, is just various curves and planes. Having a scary flesh orb nearby that you can reference is only ever going to be helpful. Because instead of thinking, how do I do this? You're not doing it by yourself. You can just ponder your orb. Here's me try to figure out this blood situation. I like the current one a lot. The problem is I got a little lost in the sauce, as it were, and forgot that Millennium has to go over top. This part, when it turns red, I think is when I was coming off of a week-long break. I got busy and did other things. So it comes to the point where I start like looking at it with fresh eyes and being like, okay, what can I fix? What can I change up? This is, of course, part of my Chronos posting agenda. There's not a lot of art of the guy, and he's my favourite character. So I'm giving away this advice in the hopes that someone else joins me in doing this kind of thing. Because I'm fighting for my life out here. I'm in these mines alone. I'm really, really happy with how the frame came out. This looks exactly how I wanted it to in my head. Maybe a strange thing to say considering the whole rest of the picture. That top right corner is my favourite segment. It's the only part where I'm looking at it and I think, oh, I popped the fuck off with this one. The rest I have self-critiques on. Not in a cruel way, but in a here's how I can improve for the future way. Here's me going back and adding some greebles. I'm very much one for getting all my base colours down before I start fucking it up with correction layers. Oh, here we go, here it starts, here it comes. I still feel like I'm not super used to using correction layers. I've been using them longer than I've ever been painting. But I always feel like I'm not doing it correctly, or that I don't quite understand what's going on. I don't think I have anything insightful to add to this part, because this is the segment of the video I'm going to call Winging It. If you're at this point in the video when you think, is she done messing around with the blood yet? Absolutely not. I swither backwards and forwards on how I want this thing to look. Oh right, I forgot the halo. I'm glad I remembered before I uploaded this. That would have been embarrassing. The Hades girlies would be beating me with sticks. Just fixing up the background. The focal point is once again straight in the middle, so it can be very, very abstract. It doesn't have to be anything at all. It just has to be something there to kind of pull focus towards the middle. I think that's about the long and short of it. Thank you for watching. If you have any kind of questions or any kind of comments, certainly leave them below and I'll do my best to help you out. But yeah, thanks again.